Ethnographic research, or ethnography, has its own origin in anthropology, as it refers to the study of human society and cultures in their natural setting, which mainly focuses on two things. First, a single group of people or setting, and the behavior of this group in the everyday rather than the experimental context. But the question is, how can you collect all ethnographic data for a research? This can be done through four stages. Number one, fieldwork, which is the researcher both observes members of the group or community being researched and participate with them in their activities to gain a deep understanding of the group's culture, beliefs, and practices from an insider perspective. While field note is a descriptive information, it is accurately documenting factual data along with the settings, actions, behaviors, and conversations that you observe. It is also a reflective information where you record your thoughts, ideas, questions, and concerns during the observation. Interviews. It is also helping the ethnographer interact with the research group, asking questions about the research group, as the interview is itself a site of meaning construction and it produces a text for interpretation. There is also a document analysis, which is a systemic procedure for reviewing or evaluating documents, both printed and electronic, such as computer-based and internet-transmitted material. It also requires that data to be examined and interpreted in order to elicit meaning and gain deeper understanding and also develop empirical knowledge. The ethnographic research in this initial article employs various data collection techniques to investigate language socialization processes in the development of language teacher identities. The researchers spent 3.5 months observing a Chinese cultural class, documenting teacher-student interactions in detailed field notes. While the second study, as a participant observer, the researcher recorded activities in the class sessions by using an audio recorder, as well as conducted stimulated recall interviews with a teacher and a number of students about the dialogic interactions to provide added perspectives from research participants to the observational data collected in the classroom. Now, there are three ways of data sampling. Number one, the sample is selected based on the characteristics or attributes that the researcher is interested in studying, which is known as purposive sampling. The second one is snowball sampling, where the researcher asks participants to recommend other individuals to be sampled and observed in order to be used in the study. The last one is called theoretical sampling, which is the process of collecting, coding, and analyzing data in a manner in order to generate a theory. Now, what about the ethics that you need to consider as a researcher? Number one, you need to know that participants should be fully informed of the study objectives, methods, potential risks, and the right to withdraw at any time, as participants' consent should be obtained continuously throughout the study. The second one, that the researcher anonymize the identity and personal information of the participants to protect their identity and personal information from being leaked or identified easily. Number three is that the researcher needs to be careful not to cause harm to the participants. This includes consideration of the impact of participants' presence and actions in the community, as well as respect for their cultural norm and customs. The last one is that the research should aim to benefit society or make a positive contribution to the wider understanding of the cultural or social phenomenon under study. Now, after going through all the methods of data collection, you come to the part of data organization, which can be done through four stages. Number one is descriptive labels, which is creating a simple category labels for each domain by comparing and identifying it in order to classify the information. While the second one is sorting, which means grouping the labels into smaller sets in order to have specific themes and connections between the information. Number three is generalization, which is relating information to theories to make them clearer and understandable to the researcher. Last but not least, the researcher has to write down the ideas about the data collected from the fieldwork, so he or she knows if more classifications need. You come to the part of what you might face as an ethnographic researcher while collecting ethnographic data. Collecting data for your ethnographic research is a time-consuming job to do, as you will spend time in the field, and keep in mind that collecting data and building trust between you and the people that you are studying their cultural identity also takes time. While the subjectivity of data interpretation, you need to make sure of your personal perspective regarding the cultural activity that you observe, and do not forget to be objective about it, because you're facing different perspective, cultural context, and lack of standardization, as well as communication understanding between you and the people because of the differences in the cultural norm. There is also a difficulty in accessing certain population. Sometimes it might be difficult to access some population and study specific phenomenon in some places around the world, because some people may be difficult or reluctant to participate in the ethnographic research because of the limitation of the researcher ability to study certain things. One more thing that you need to consider is that getting in touch with a new community can affect your behavior as a researcher who will spend time with a new community that has different cultural norms. To sum up everything that have been mentioned in the video, the ethnographic approach, it is a culture-oriented qualitative research approach that is aimed at gaining insight into the daily habits and beliefs of a particular social or cultural group. It is a powerful research tool in social science to capture the real life of social groups through immersive research showing the inherent logic and meaning. So when collecting a data for such approach, do not forget to cover all the data methods of collection and organization, as well as the ethics, to avoid any misunderstanding that might occur from you as a researcher towards the people that you are observing as an outsider.